Pathologic 2 stands out as a truly exceptional and captivating gaming experience. While it is a notoriously difficult game, it masterfully utilizes the interactive medium of gaming to convey its profound themes and messages in a way most other games do not. While many games boast impressive narratives or impactful player choices, Pathologic 2 distinguishes itself by seamlessly integrating its themes directly into its gameplay mechanics. It's just so rare to encounter a game that achieves such a seamless fusion of storytelling and gameplay where the gameplay serves to reinforce a central theme or message. So in this video, I'm only going to scratch the surface of the deeper plot and lore of the game, because I want to focus on how the game uses its gameplay to convey its themes of moral dilemma and the struggle for survival. The game is about a town infected with a plague. You play as a doctor trying to cure this plague before everyone dies. And the game actually begins with a twist, kind of. It reveals that the unfolding events of the game are part of a theatrical performance, and you are playing the character of Artemy the Doctor.
So rude. You are, after all, the star of the show.
How should I act then?
Here's some advice. Actually, the only advice that matters. Try not to die. Ever. Do you understand? Like, never ever. At all. Or it'll turn bad. Not just for you, but for all of us.
And why is that?
It would wound the world. Irreversibly. And the world, it's not in the best shape as it is. So I'd kindly ask you to do your very best. Work hard. Take care of yourself.
Where are the other two? The bachelor and the girl?
They're waiting for you to exit the scene. They want to learn about their fates as well.
You know the future? What's mine then?
Oh, I can't help but pity you. Look, there will be a happy ending. You'll even believe that you won. No guilty conscience either.
This immediately blurs the lines between reality and fiction, but in a way it is true. These characters can't know they're in a video game, yet the characters in the game are all played by actors, just like an actor plays a character in a theater performance, and you as the player, in a way, are an actor taking on the role as the main star of the show. Anyway, your character, the doctor, has received a letter from your father asking you to come home, so you arrive back in the town you grew up in after being away for a very long time. And this hometown is where the game takes place over the course of 12 days. And it is a very unique town, one with a long history, strange traditions, and religions, and in a way it's almost like a beautiful little town where people would normally be very peaceful and tranquil. For example, while money can be used at shops, most of the people here use like a bartering system. However, to the player, it is not first presented as such a peaceful town. Once you take a step off the train after arriving back home, you're jumped by 3 men who think you are a murderer. In self-defense, you kill these 3 men. Now the town hates you for killing these people just after arriving, and you go through some hoops to explain how it was in self-defense, and you come to find out why they were looking for a murderer in the first place, because there was a murder recently, and it turns out it was your father who had just been murdered. The plague has yet to make an appearance, though there is some foreshadowing of what's to come. You quickly learn about the game's basic mechanics such as the hunger, thirst, and exhaustion meters, and they are not forgiving at all. Everything you do makes you thirsty and hungry, and as the day goes on, your exhaustion bar drops, and you can sleep to regain stamina and health. However, if you're hungry or thirsty and you go to bed, it's actually going to damage you instead of healing you. So going to bed will deplete your hunger meter while giving you health. But if you're full hungry, then you just start dying while you're sleeping. And compared to other games with similar meters, this is probably the single most brutal game. However, it is not unmanageable, and once you get used to it, it can be a lot of fun. But when people online talk about Pathologic 2 being notoriously difficult, this is one of the root causes of that, because managing these meters is tough. Food is sold in the grocery stores, medicine in the pharmacy, and clothes in the clothing shops. And nothing is cheap. At these stores, you can also sell items to the vendors. You're also able to loot items from inside houses, and outside you can find dumpsters and trash cans and that kind of shit that have loot. You can also kill people and loot their corpses. However, each area of the town has a reputation system, so killing someone is going to destroy your rep, drastically causing any items in that area to be more expensive. And also, if your rep gets low enough, sometimes people will just straight up start attacking you. And also, if it gets low enough, stores won't even let you buy or trade anything from them. You can get water pretty easily by filling up empty bottles and barrels and pumps found all throughout the town. The plague really begins on day 3.
I can work miracles. I just lay hands on a person and if they had cancer or a tumor or something in the blood. I'm not very good with terms, but God loves me.
3 years ago, a cure for typhoid was found. 4 years ago for the Blue Death. A year ago for a strain of smallpox. Science is all-powerful.
Local medicine can do a lot. Although while studying, I started to see it as backwards, but it did work at times.
Well, satisfied with your boasting? Trying to impress each other like little kids? Unbelievable.
Enough with this ridiculous meeting, you bunch of quacks. No type of medicine will help you here.
Some kids ask you to come look at their friend who's really sick, and the player here learns about the mechanics of how healing works. Once someone is infected, a character in the game world, you cannot really cure them. You can only try and figure out the best antibiotic to administer, and it will simply lower their chances of death. Well, you can cure people, but it's from an incredibly rare item. For the most part, 99% of infected characters in the game won't be able to be cured at all. You can only give an infected person one type of antibiotic, and there's 3 types to choose from. And if you administered the wrong one, it basically has no effect on them. If you give them the correct one, it simply lowers their chance of death a bit. And you will find out very soon that once infected, the chance of death is very high. You can, however, brew up medicine and give to people who are not yet infected to boost their immunity. Doesn't mean they won't get infected if you give them an immunity booster, only the chance of getting infected is lowered. Now, all throughout the town is things to do and people to talk to and storylines you might want to complete, so you probably want to give the people you're interested in some immunity boosters so they don't get infected. But all this time going around the town doing this, you are hungry and thirsty, and the plague is beginning to spread. And you don't even have enough materials to make enough immunity potions for all the people you want to. And then there's another meter I haven't talked about yet, and that is the immunity meter. This is your own immunity to the infection you have to worry about. Going into infected areas will drop this meter drastically, and if it hits 0, you will become infected. Once you are infected, it is nearly impossible to remove. It will slowly drain your health over the course of the entire game, forever. You can counter it with antibiotics, but antibiotics are not easy to get a hold of, and you need those to give to other people so they don't get infected, or to combat their infection. And if you get infected early enough in your game, I would highly recommend just reloading a save point and not getting infected, because trying to play the game while infected is incredibly difficult. And you can easily get into a situation where you may have to go back hours of gameplay in order to figure out a way to progress without dying. So yeah, just if you play this game, just do not get infected, ever. But if you don't want to get infected, that means you need to use your limited immunity boosters on yourself and not on the people around the town. You may have a few left over, but you need to choose which characters are going to receive them. Around the town, people are starting to get uneasy now. Prices in shops were already pretty high by default, but now they've skyrocketed. Here in this clip, my character is very hungry. I'm forced to sell items to buy one little kashk, which barely makes my hunger bar move at all. And it's only day 3. At the end of the days now, you get a list of all the people that have become infected or that have died. Day 4, shit has truly hit the fan.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Outbreak. The theater is officially disbanded.
As well as other conveniences. Running water, access to your own children, who never leave their beloved polyhedron anyway, sewage, friendly smiles on the street, any respect for the institution of marriage, food, etc., etc.
On the order of that big city bachelor, all theatrical costumes are to be handed out to orderlies. You know, protection.
By the way, obeying the orderlies is now mandatory per current laws.
Is that all?
For now.
The town is doomed. Why bother with any of this?
There's panic in the streets and people may try to attack you and kill you. The shops are insanely overpriced to where it's almost impossible to afford anything. Before, water was readily available at the pumps and barrels, but now many of the water barrels you'll come across are just empty. The pumps around town have all been destroyed by people who thought the water source was causing the plague. All while the infection is spreading, and as a doctor, you're expected to report daily to the town hospital and help people. If you do, you are rewarded the next day from a town fund, usually with food and items, which helps tremendously, but the hospital is a dangerous place, and you risk becoming infected when you go there. And if you don't have boosters to venture into the hospital, the risk is just too great, even if there are people there who could really use your help. Now, as one of the only doctors in town, it seems a little selfish from the outside. You're a doctor. It's your job to help these people. But when you're already half starving to death, exhausted, thirsty, even if you want to as a player, it's this feeling of, no, I want to keep my medicine and my health. I just can't help these people at this time. It's hard to put into words, but experiencing this happening as you're playing the game is really eye-opening. Day 5.
Yes, sir. If the bones grew wrong, he broke them.
Oh, how his son tries to sew it back together. Maybe he'll succeed. And with pretty stitches.
You're kidding. People like him only care about themselves. They can't connect things. They certainly can't sew anything.
There he is. Look. He came to watch. Watch you foam at the mouth. That means he does care about something other than himself. He will bind us.
Like hell. Connections take more than catgut and steady hands.
All the while, plague devours the town.
Who even cares about some pathetic Burach, living, breathing, boring Burach, while a whole 400 others die this night?
Now the town is doing really bad. Infected people just roam the streets. If you get near someone who's badly infected, your immunity meter will just evaporate. More people are dying, and just staying alive yourself is becoming very hard. The hospital is in bad shape, and it's around this time you can really find yourself in a bad situation, where it might feel like you've been making all the correct moves, but have somehow dug yourself deep into a hole where you have no money, No food, no water, no medicine to heal yourself or others. Even reloading a safe from hours ago can still lead you to the same place, like the same path of hopelessness, almost like it's fate. It shows you how easy it can be to go down the wrong path, straight into a hole, and how difficult it can be to claw your way out. Day 6.
I fell in love for the first time when I was 6. A kind boy with freckles. And you know, these days his name was Matvey.
I don't believe you, and I don't like you. Actually, that's too mild a statement. I feel an innate resentment towards you.
It's... well, alright then. Most people love me.
I don't like you either, girl of fate. But not just you, I'm not sure I know how to love.
Enough. This won't do. It won't do at all. This is a theatre production, not a pity party. You should be ashamed of how you've wasted your time worrying about such nonsense. Go to bed. That's it. Rehearsal over.
The people of the town are truly going mad now. A group has formed that believes the only way to fight the infection is by burning it away. Doesn't matter if the infected individual is dead or alive, they must burn. Finding water is getting very hard. Food prices are insane. Stores are running out of supplies. You may be attacked by people in broad daylight now. And with more and more people getting sick and dying, and the price of food and health items just being outrageous, what I decided to do was to start breaking into houses and looting them for items to sell for money. And this is something you don't have to do, but when you're in a situation that feels hopeless and you're starving to death, breaking in and looting a house suddenly doesn't seem like too bad of an option. It's this sense of doing whatever you have to in order to survive, because dying in this game is extremely punishing. Not only do you lose a lot of time and go back to your last save point, but every time you die, the game gets more difficult. And simply reloading a save after dying does not prevent this. The game still knows that you died and will still punish you. So you start trying to do everything you can in order to not die and to save the characters around you that you really care about, all the while trying to find a cure for this outbreak. So yeah, looting a house, it just starts to look like no big deal. But back at the hospital, things are getting desperate to discover a cure. You're told that organs are needed to test vaccines, and at this point it doesn't matter if the organs come from infected individuals or healthy ones. If the player wants to kill someone not infected and harvest their organs, well, that's up to them. Although it probably would be safer to just kill a healthy person and take their organs, because you don't have to risk infection. And just when you thought it can't get worse, day 7 begins.
Here I am, confessing. We were robbing folks. Me and Kitty Cat, stilts, knives, all them. Then we wanted to rob that big city bachelor.
I see. Northern gold mines. 10 years. Alexander Saburov?
You've heard it all. I try to instill order. It's instrumental.
And the outbreak?
Outbreaks, earthquakes, the Last Judgment, it doesn't matter. Discipline must be maintained. People turn into animals. They need to be reined in. My wife...
My sympathies for your wife. Last question. Heads or tails?
Heads. Always heads.
I expected nothing else. Still, You're free to leave. Andre Goffman?
I'm his sister. He didn't wait for questioning. Shot himself. You won't punish the rest of us, will you?
Noted. Next. Victoria Olgimskaya, 16. Or is it 15?
An Inquisitor has arrived at town tasked with stopping the outbreak, and people in the town are terrified of the Inquisitor. But shit, I don't care because I've managed to save up enough money to buy some food, and I'm actually starving to death here, so I'm just gonna head to the grocery store, and I'm told I can no longer buy or sell items for food in the store. Now I have to use food stamps that are given out once a day by the Inquisitor's people. Great. It's a system set up by the Inquisitor in order to try and fix the town's stores, which have mostly run out of items. So while I'm slowly starving to death, I run across town to get my 2 daily food stamps, and then I went to the grocery store across the street, only to discover my 2 food stamps were not enough to buy any food at all. So it's like, fuck. Once again, I decided my best option was to just turn to looting. Now it's common to see others looting inside houses as well, and if you run into another looter inside a house, they will attack you, and they can usually kill you in a few seconds. The people of the town are in full-blown panic, attacking and killing each other in the streets. A lot of the main characters will die if you have not treated them, or if you fail to give them antibiotics, and shit, a lot will probably even die even if you do treat them. But any storylines that you were interested in can be completely ended if you do not act in time. And around this day, it starts to get very difficult to keep even a few people alive. And you don't have to help anyone, of course. You can just loot houses and stash your loot if you want. And while most video games, you're some sort of hero that saves the day in a miraculous fashion or have like the set path of a villain, here you're not a hero or a villain. You're just a doctor trying to survive in this strange town. There are no miracles here to save the day. But you are, however, getting just a bit closer to discovering a cure.
Cheating is betrayal. Betrayal means death. Please stand to the left. Next.
Listen, I understand where this is going. I beg you, forgive me. I'm guilty of betrayal too, but I will never again.
Death. Next.
See, the circumstances were. I never wanted to betray them. But
Death. Look, is there anyone here with a different crime? There are no other crimes. There's no such thing as evil, murder, torture, or violent abuse. The only real crime is betraying someone who trusted you. So everyone who has that kind of confession, please stand to the left. Your punishment is death. End of discussion.
If you've been following the story in-game and trying to do the story missions, you should be getting closer to a cure. But there's more dead and the infection is only getting worse. There are now rumors that the army is going to take over in order to contain the infection. Now out on the streets, people lay sick and dying. You can try and cure some of these people on the streets if you want, but at the hospital, bodies of the dead are starting to pile up inside and outside. It feels hopeless now to try and treat anyone. Inside the hospital, on day 8, you find no doctors anywhere. No nurses, but there are some orderlies who are glad you have arrived so they can leave. They say someone will come by to relieve you from the hospital in 1 hour, so you can choose to leave the hospital or you can stay for the hour. I chose to stay and risk getting infected because I didn't want to leave the hospital unattended. After the 1 hour was up, well, nobody came to relieve me. But like I had things to do on the other side of town, so I left the hospital with only the sick and dying inside and no one to care for them.
not subjecting them to needless danger, but pushing them to face danger when needed. That's what protection means. But just how needed is it? If you're right, the need is real. If not, it was imaginary. And that is on you, on your conscience. Here at war, there are no rehearsals, no tryouts, no second chances.
General, sir, what are you talking about? We're not at the front lines. You have a direct order to stop the plague, meaning your job is the opposite of protecting people. You're here to kill.
This is a criminal order, and I won't follow it.
Yeah, you have a lousy role in all this. But let's try once again, from a different line of yours.
The days wear on, the town of Pathologic 2 descends further into chaos and despair. With each passing day, the challenges mount, and the stakes grow even higher. By day 9, the situation seems all but hopeless, with the infection spreading unchecked, bodies piling up, and the militaries rolling in. Over the next few days, hopefully the player can save a few people that they wanted, and if they are good enough, create a cure, maybe save the town. But the story and lore go so much deeper than what I've barely touched upon in this video. I've merely scratched the surface. But while the plot and lore is good, what I find truly interesting is how the game puts the player in these situations where they are faced with incredibly difficult choices. From scavenging for survival to risking infection to save others, the line between heroism and self-preservation really blurs, as the player has to grapple with these harsh realities of their predicament. Yet, amidst the despair, there's a glimmer of hope of the cure that remains. And it drives the player forward in this desperate search for salvation. In the end, Pathologic 2 offers not just a surreal, psychological, and harrowing game experience, but a profound meditation on the nature of survival, sacrifice, and the will to preserve. Not many games will challenge you to reflect on your own capacity for empathy, resilience, and moral fortitude, but this one will. And what you discover might not be what you expect. This has been David with Consternation Evolved. Thanks for watching.